Fáilte léir go dtí an ceathrú seisiún san bhunsra curcagaine ag dul ina ruúint fuinneamh. Tá mé de caint le 5 ambassadóirí ó thionsclúil curcagaine le ESB Networks, beidh tuigoscailte fiadhúlagainn chun tuiscinteáil ar an slí a bhfuil na ambassadóirí ag oiriúnú de heicneolaíochta inanúte sa gnáthshéal. Agus álamach cén comhairle atá chun do dhaoine ag tosnú amach ar a trus fuinneamh inanúte. Hi everyone, I'm Deirdre from Dingle Hub and you're very welcome to the 4th session in our mini-series, Dingle Adapts Energy. We'll be chatting to the 5 ESB Networks Dingle Project ambassadors to find out about their experiences using the technologies in their homes and businesses and to get insights into how they are adapting to the technologies in real life and what they've learned so far in this journey. We're going to conclude this series with an interactive session on June 29th, where you'll have the chance to ask questions of the ambassadors and of a panel of energy experts. So you can send us questions in advance when you register for the Q&A session, or you can ask at the event. The links will be available on the Dingle Hub website and will also be shared on social media channels. I'd like to take this opportunity to just say that all of this is only made possible thanks to funding from the SFI Discover programme, and we're really, really grateful for their support on this. So now on to our guest for this session, who is Rory McKeown from Dingle. Rory is married to Blaheen, and they have 2 little boys. He was one of our first remote workers, I think, ahead of the posse there, Rory. Moved back to Ireland after a number of years in Australia and relocated here to Dingle, and we're very, very lucky to have him. He brought his role with him as a technical consultant with the World Health Organization, with expertise in the area of water, sanitation and hygiene. So as part of the ESB Networks Dingle project, Rory has undergone a full retrofit and had an air source heat pump, solar PVs, energy monitoring device, an EV and a smart EV charger installed in his property. You're very, very welcome, Rory, and thanks for joining us today.
Thanks very much, Deirdre.
Can you tell us a little bit about your role as Dingle Project Ambassador, how and why you wanted to be involved in the ESB Networks Dingle project?
Okay, thanks, Deirdre. So, look, to be honest, the timing couldn't have been any more perfect for us. And to be honest, we just bought our first home. As you mentioned, we're living up on the Caharoo in Doonqueen, so there's plenty of fresh air up here, and we're bearing kind of the full brunt of the storms for the rest of the peninsula. So the house, when we moved in, had an energy rating of around D1. So we were a good few years away from being able to afford an energy upgrade ourselves. So it was a great opportunity for us to try and make the home more energy efficient and cut out some of the gales that were blowing through the old windows that we had. So that was, yeah, obviously a huge motivation. You know, you'd mentioned we'd 2 young boys at home as well, so we've got all the associated costs, you know, with the heaters and dryers going 24/7, baths, hot water every night. So on top of that, there, you know, great potential for us to try and cut down on bills and also, you know, reduce our carbon footprint as well. And the project itself for us was quite far-reaching, I guess. So it appealed to the nerd in me to be able to get an opportunity in how homes in Ireland might look in the future, and possibly, you know, be able to shape that future to some degree as well. So I think all of those aspects together had us jumping up and down of the project. So we were thrilled to be part of it.
Fantastic. And now you're quite a way into the project and you're getting to experience all these technologies. Will you take us through a little bit of maybe the day-to-day changes you're experiencing, or maybe some of the biggest benefits that you're seeing from the changes?
Okay, well, as you mentioned, the first things to go in were the solar PV panels. So they were probably, for me, I guess, the most eye-opening. Where we live wouldn't be exactly world-renowned for its sunny climate back west. I think the picture here is a bit of a misnomer. If you look out the window today, you can barely see the car in front of the house with the fog. So, but look, even with that, we're producing now. They've been in a little over 2 years, I'd say. And we've been producing around, I think it's about 2,000 kilowatt per year. And so that's just a little under half of what we would use, or what a typical household in Ireland would use. So that's really been, I guess, one of the biggest eye openers for us. That's also influenced a lot how we do, day to day, how we use appliances, how we work, just the general household items. We've kind of shifted now to looking at the weather forecast to decide when we run the washer or when we run the dryer. So that certainly was something that we weren't used to, I guess. So it's probably one of the biggest changes in behavior that we've had. I think sort of through the whole project as well, we've just got more and more conscious of, what electricity we use, when we use it. And I'm almost embarrassed to admit how little we knew heading into this project. And I think just with each bit of technology that's gone in, we've learned a little bit more about it, how we interact with it and how that can influence how much energy we're using. So, I think that has, really been a big part of it as each item has gone in. I think that's certainly.
I think that's a really, really important point, Rory. I see that myself here, both in, as you say, using the washing machine when the sun is shining. It's understanding, it's having that information about when, renewable energy is available to you and using it efficiently. And I think it's probably true to say the same for the electric vehicles as well. You'd be way more conscious of the energy you're using to travel around versus maybe going to the petrol station to load up. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, wholeheartedly. Even probably one of the other big changes for us was switching to a day-night rate. And that's something, with previously when bills came in, we paid no attention to them at all. You might remark if they're a bit expensive, but, you wouldn't have gone back through old bills to sort of compare what you're using or otherwise. And switching to the day-night rate once the electric vehicle arrived made us realize that's something we could have done years ago with no involvement in this project, to be honest. Being able to, run sort of washing machines at night or tumble dryers, obviously it depends on the situation. If your washing machine's right beside a bedroom or otherwise, there's some practical issues to be addressed. But, having a basic change like that can make a huge impact on your bill. And particularly when it came to the electric vehicles. So, once we switched from a flat rate to a day-night rate, to charge, there's a picture there of the car charging at the side of the house, and for a full charge, which will get you roughly around sort of 450 kilometers. At the moment, it's costing us anywhere between about €5 to €7 for that trip. So the electric vehicle, we've had it now since about February or so, and we've done about 6,000 kilometers in it. And the total costs, and these are all sort of back of the napkin calculations, but for those 6,000 kilometers, that's only cost about €200 for that period. And if I worked it out based on our other kind of 2-liter car that we have, you'd be looking at least sort of about €800 or €900 for the same distance. So that's only 6 months in as well. And now obviously there's higher upfront costs with electric vehicles that need to be considered, but certainly our experience in the short time we've had, and considering it's been mostly lockdown as well, we haven't got a good chance to get out there and really put it through its paces until recently. But certainly I think the lower running costs and what I believe maintenance costs as well can certainly offset some of that higher upfront cost to get an electric vehicle. So far so good on that front from our perspective.
Excellent. So today now, I suppose with you, we're trying to focus in on, one particular technology with each ambassador. So we're going to take a closer look at the air source heat pump for this chat. And I think this is probably the technology that requires the most technical understanding. Well, maybe not. We'll hear what you say. I'm sure people are eager to hear your insights on this. So what's the experience of switching to air source heat pumping like for you?
Yeah, look, I can't fault it at all, to be honest. The picture we're looking at here is just the external component. So that's essentially the heat pump itself, the exterior fan. And look, honestly, it's probably been the unsung hero of all the various gadgets that we've got. It's certainly not as visual or gets as much PR as things like solar panels and electric vehicles. It just sits there in the background, working away and doing its job really without, virtually, minimal, if not zero input from ourselves. So we would have switched from an old oil burner. So, you know, some of the day-to-day challenges, anyone who's had an oil burner would know, you know, you've got to worry about running out of oil in the depths of winter. And, you know, you've also issues with the fumes. Even, you know, we had a reasonably good exhaust in our utility room, but you'd always know when the burner was on even before you heard it. And our own situation, unfortunately, the 25-year-old plastic tank for the home heating oil was situated just right above our drinking water well. So that was just an accident waiting to happen, to be honest. So we couldn't get rid of it quickly enough when it came in. But, you know, the heat pump itself, I think we have a picture on the next slide. So it's probably just slightly bigger than your standard oil burner for you know, a typical one-story bungalow. The fan that we saw on the previous slide is virtually noiseless, to be honest. You'll hear it if you're standing beside it. Our bedroom's located not too far from where that fan was outside, but you know, even on calm nights, you know, we don't get many of them where we live, but you don't hear the fan ticking over in the background at all. It was something somebody had warned me about, just to be conscious of where the fan's located, because it does kick on and kick off, but it's certainly not been an issue from our perspective. And look, honestly, the heat pump just sits there. Sorry, Deirdre.
So newer models are constantly improving as well. So perhaps
well, that's it, exactly.
30 years ago.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Absolutely. No problem at all. And look, the heat pump is kind of always on during the winter. I'm sure there's a huge amount of technical information in the background and components, but from a user perspective, the picture you're looking at here is really all you have to deal with. And like I say, you never have to worry about coming home to a cold house in the winter. The house is always on. The temperature rarely fluctuates. You'd mentioned that we had a deep retrofit done earlier. That is a prerequisite for getting a heat pump put in. As far as I'm aware, I think you need to be at least minimally an A BER rating on your home. So it's useful to know you can't just put a heat pump into any situation. And we had to have the insulation done in the house, the doors and windows replaced as part of this project as well. But once that's in place, the temperature is constant most of the time. We're at a point now this summer where we can turn the heat pump off, to be honest. The house is so well insulated that the temperature, you know, remains steady for the most part. And we can have it just running on heating the hot water, which is brilliant. So you don't have to worry. You know, particularly with young kids, the doors are open during the summer the whole time, and if you've a cool breeze blowing in, it might kick the heat pump back on when it's not really needed. So, you know,
is it still heating the hot water?
Yes, that's right. You can disengage the sort of the home heating element from the hot water heating element as well, which is a straightforward thing to do on the control panel. So, you know, last summer we kept it on, but we just had the thermostat turned down low, but you're able to have it turned off completely. And to be honest, really all you have to do, there's an up arrow and a down arrow in that picture, and that's really the extent of our involvement in the heat pump. You know, there's an app to control it as well. If you're away on holidays, you can put it in holiday mode. You can control the temperature remotely. Say you're coming back from somewhere and you want to warm up the house a bit. But really, it's just a case of finding that sweet spot, I guess, in your house that everybody's comfortable with in terms of temperature, and you don't really need to play with it. I mean, one of the major differences we saw from the oil heating, which is probably worth mentioning, is the amount of time it takes for the heat pump to respond to a change in the thermostat would typically be longer than you would find, say, for you know, an older oil burner or that. You know, before, if the house was feeling a bit cool, you could turn up the oil burner and within half an hour, you know, the heat blasts through the house. But the heat pump is much more steady and slow in terms of bringing the house up to a higher or lower temperature. So in the early days, I guess we were maybe turning it up and turning it down a little bit more than we should have, before realizing that, yeah, it's best to just find that point that you like. You know, we've the option of having the living area at a different temperature from the bedrooms as well. You know, zoned heating I think is common in most houses these days, but it gives you that flexibility depending on sort of what your preference is. You know, but it really is just sits there in the background and does its job, and we have very little to do, to be honest. It's been brilliant, and we don't have to battle about the immersion being left on or any of those issues that we've had in the past. So that's certainly made for happier.
The fear of the immersion being left on, but yes. So I suppose something like that takes a little bit of getting used to the fact that you're leaving it on all the time, but it's great to hear your experience with that once you find the right temperature, the comfortable temperature for you, it's okay to just let it do its thing. That's very comforting to hear.
Yeah.
So it's been really great chatting with you, Rory. I'm going to just ask you one last question, and that is, are your family, friends and neighbours, are they taking an interest in what you're doing? And has anyone, you know, taken action out of what they're learning from you?
Yeah, it's a good question, Deirdre. We do get a lot of questions, you know, from people on the street as well as family and friends. You know yourself, everybody knows everybody's business to some degree. So, you know, we have had people that would come up and know that we've had a heat pump put in or had solar panels, and people are genuinely curious about, you know, how they're doing, how they've worked out for us, you know, what types of cost saving are we seeing, and just any sort of practical advice. So, look, it's been great to be able to pass on. You know, we're certainly not technical savvy household in any stretch of the imagination, but you know, it's great to just being able to share, you know, our own learnings, and obviously it's a bit uncomfortable having to expose your ignorance on some of these things as well. But I think for us, I think once we got started on it, we were obviously very lucky to have support of VSB to you know, hold our hand through the initial phases. And I think it was a big barrier to us getting started was how little we knew about it, and I guess a bit overwhelming as well how much advice is out there, where to start, who to trust and things like that. But you know, certainly we found once we got started, you just start getting more engaged in it, to be honest, and you learn more about it, and you know, it very quickly demystifies itself, for want of a better word. So, you know, we have sort of been able to share our experiences, and certainly with family, we've been, you know, nagging them to start looking at their electricity bills and paying a bit more attention to it, and even those sort of basic things can get you started. So yeah, it's been great.
Very important point there. I guess there's so much information out there, great information out there, but it's the where to start. And look, it's great that we have so many people here on the peninsula now who are informed, who have the experience and are willing to share, like you're sharing with us today. So thanks very much to everyone for joining, and thank you so much, Rory, for sharing all those valuable insights with us. We'd love you all to join us for a chat again next Thursday at 1 p.m. when we'll be chatting to the one and only Dinny Galvin. You can also register for the Dingle Adapts Energy Interactive Webinar session via the website, dinglehub.com, and the link will be shared on our social media platforms. So we'd be delighted if you can join us on that as a great first step to find your own way in contributing to a more sustainable future. Míle buíochas as bheith inmh agus míle buíochas de Rory as a léargas sár luach for a reintlin. Brevralin más féidir le bheith léin an Deirdre de Bhailís a rís ag a héana clog, be mi de caint le Dinny Galvin and son. Is féidir clárú den session idirgníomhach ar sibh idirlin dinglehub.com agus beg an nascar na man sosiálta leis. Be mi bras ásta más féidir le bheith léin. Slán an ish.